I guess, most of this island, let me back up. There are 2 private residences here. There's summer residents, and it does look like someone is here, so I'll say hi to those guys on our way past. But yeah, so don't wander into their houses, please. And we shouldn't need to, because most of this island belongs to the national park, which means it belongs to who? Us. You, as a U.S. citizen or a visitor from another country, we welcome you. So yeah, that's awesome. So that allows us to come here. And then my plan is we're gonna walk up the main street. I'm gonna try to keep it as succinct as possible for you guys, but I want you to get a feel for the life of this early family here. So we'll probably do 3 stops, okay? And then when we're done there, I'm gonna send you guys all out to the dance floor, okay? Now the first boat, we already talked about this. Matt's gonna meet us back here at 11:40, okay? All right, second boat, I'll probably bring most of us together. We'll just make sure we all get out of here together. But yeah, so we gotta meet back here at 11:40. And the dance floor, it takes about 15 minutes to hike back here to meet him. So we just wanna make sure we hold them to the schedule, because Matt's gotta run the whale watch boat later right when we get back. So we wanna make sure he gets there in time, okay? All right, any questions logistically, guys? Okay, we're good with that? All right. Yes.
I just want, is there mainland there?
Oh yes. So this island next door here is called Little Cranberry Island.
Oh,
yep.
Little Cranberry.
And that building you see is the old U.S. Life Saving Service Station number 9. Yep. Now there's also a bar across here at low tide. Guess what? You can walk across there. And I often say when we go up here, we're not going to see a hospital. Okay. Now Hannah came out here with 3 children, but went on to have how many? 12. Okay. And here's what I think. I think Hannah would. There was a midwife over there in the town of Little Cranberry. There's a year-round town over there still today. It's about 90 people live there year-round. So I think Hannah would time it just right. You know how ladies, you do that, how you time it just right? So she would time it for low tide, okay? She would go across at low tide to the midwife where she would have her child, and then, but she had to get back before the tide came in because she's gonna have so much to do out here, okay? Life on an island, there's gonna be a lot to do. We're gonna be living life on the edge of survival out here. So I want you to think about, as we make our way up the main street, maybe what should we have brought with us, again, to help our family survive out here, really for generations, okay? All right, here we are. Join me as we walk the main street of Baker Island. Here, what is it made out of? You guys tell?
Concrete.
It's made out of concrete, yes. So, and I will tell you guys that this is an official marker that officially marks the main street. If you're looking, you might see remnants of a few more of these as we go along. Now, you don't know a ton about this Gilley family, but do you think they had the need, the time, or the energy, or to make this, to officially mark the main street? No badges in it. But right. Well, I could get them, but why bother, right? We'll come back to that later though, okay? For you today, it does mark the way to the island cemetery. I'm not gonna take you over there now, but if you wanna go there, make sure you leave the dance floor a few minutes early. You can go over there and check that out on your way back to the beach. Again, back there at 11:40. All right? Our first family that settles here, boom, they gotta land, they gotta build their log cabin. We think it was right here somewhere, but we actually don't know. But I'm gonna tell you something interesting. William Gilley, again, used to fish out here, and he would sometimes, when the weather turned bad, he would hold up in an old abandoned log cabin. An old abandoned log cabin. We have no idea who that was, because who was here for the 150 years after Champlain? We don't know. Oh yeah, there's people here, but no settlements here. So we don't know who owned that old log cabin. It could have been some, fishing company out of Europe that was just fishing here for the summer, a little summer and fishing cabin, and boom. But yeah, so we always think that's interesting. These were the first settlers. No, they weren't. There was an old cabin here, but we have no idea who it was.
I say Vikings.
It could have been. I don't know if they'd be building cabins like that, but maybe. Now, that first family coming out here, guys, we need to be totally self-sufficient, okay? What should we have brought with us to survive?
Seeds.
I don't know. We need seeds. We gotta grow some crops.
Tools.
We gotta build a house. Yeah, we need all the tools to cut the trees and build our house. Seeds, oh boy, a lot of great soil out here. No, just kidding. This is Maine, okay? This terrible soil, but the Gillies grew over 300 bushels of potatoes here to help get them through the winter time. And they would grow other crops, you know, what they could here in the soil. Would we bring any animals with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, what kind of animals would we bring? You imagine trying to get a cow onto our little skiff over here, land that on Baker Island? Islands are great places to raise sheep, that's right. Yeah, so the sheep could have the whole of the island, you just keep them out of the house and out of the garden. That would probably be the trick right there. Chickens for eggs, absolutely. So what else would we need out here? Water, well, we're not going to bring our own water because that's just too heavy. There was no such thing as bottled water back then. A couple guys started this Sertimont over at the Nature Center there. They had that boiling spring. They want to call the Sweet Waters of Acadia. They're bottling water and selling it 150 years ago. People thought that was ridiculous. No one bought it.
Why was it right?
Because people were like, water's free. They were before their time, weren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway. So they'll actually take water much like these guys do today. You take it off your roof, run it into a barrel, and there's a few shallow wells out here as well. So they'll get their water out here. Okay. Let's see, what else do we need to think about? Remember, William Gilley had all his fishing gear. So remember, he came out here to do his fishing. So that's his occupation. Yeah, but there will be times, guys, I mean, look at this view, but there'll be times that in the winter, we're going to stay out here in the winter. Did I mention that? Winter time, okay? You guys are wearing jackets and it's August, okay? Think about the winter out here. And there'll be times in the winter times where we won't be able to get off that beach and onto the water for probably days at a time would be my guess. Yeah, so we need to be totally self-sufficient, but I think we've done okay so far. I think we've got enough to help us survive. Okay. At our next stop, as we continue up our main street, we'll talk about what will our different chores be and what will kind of their life be like a little bit. So I want you to think about that. Like, what could each of us offer to, again, help our family survive out here on this island? All right. So join me as we head up further. This white building here is the Elijah Gilley house. It was built in 1840 by Elijah. He was one of the children of the original family. Actually, you saw a picture of him, I hope, that went around the boat. He's that old guy with the grizzly old beard, like mending his fishing nets. Like, yeah, that's what we're all going to look like by the time we're done out here today. Okay, so that's Elijah. There's the two-seater outhouse. If you and someone else need a little extra bonding time, whatever works for you. And this is sort of a classic home for this area, kind of actually colonial New England and even over into New York a bit at that time. There's one other building that looks like this in Acadia. Anyone know where it is? Our historical homestead? The Carroll homestead, right? And there's an interesting connection here too. The matriarch, or the mother of the Carroll homestead, was Rachel Lurvy, Hannah's sister, right? Again, one of the daughters of Jacob Lurvy. So they definitely had that connection there back to Southwest Harbor, and these guys were both from big families. So, but let's talk about that original family and what their life would be like. So, William, the man of the family, what would he be doing out here?
Farming.
Yeah, he's doing that heavy stuff, right? He's going to cut the trees, he's going to pull those stumps out. They used to use pigs to remove stumps. Take a crowbar, drive it down in there, put a little bit of corn way down that hole, and what happens? Pigs go after it, and then you easily move the stumps out later. Clever, yeah. But yeah, he'd be cutting a lot of this off, but he's also out here doing his fishing. Let's come back to him in a little bit as well. Hannah, the woman of the family, what would she be doing? Raising the 12 children. Sort of classic roles of the day, yeah. So she has to keep all of those children fed and clothed and in shoes. Oh, nah, not in shoes. Nah. The Gillies, as many of the kids around here probably, they ran around most of the year without shoes on. They'd only put shoes on when the snow came. And clothes, yeah, she's gonna put them into clothes, I guess. But you know what? You don't just go to the store and buy clothes here. You make them. This is really interesting to think about. We have, there's a display over in the Aylesford Museum over there about Hannah, and there's her old, her spinning wheel over there, all right? Oh, and in the Park Museum, we have one of Hannah's old blankets that she made on her loom. Guys, that's the complete process. Hannah's like, I need a blanket. What does she do? She goes out to a sheep out in the field, right? They shear the sheep, they get the wool. She puts it onto a spinning wheel like this. Anyone ever done that? It's really kind of cool. You spin that on, it takes kind of forever though. You spin it onto your spinning wheel, and then you take that, and then you put in that loom in the wharfs in the west, and you do all that stuff, and then cut off that end of the thrum stuff and give it to the sailors. And then you have a blanket. That's the complete process. I think that's really interesting to think about. That's kind of the stuff that they were doing here. You didn't go to the store to get stuff, okay? Hannah, don't forget, Hannah was also educated. She went to school until she was 13 in Massachusetts. She taught all her children to read and write. A bunch of her daughters went on to be local teachers in the area. And the sons went on to be some captains that could keep accurate logs at sea and stuff like that. They would also, we're going to walk past in just a moment, we're going to walk past the one-room schoolhouse that they built the next generation because she could no longer educate them all in her kitchen. So we'll walk past that in just a moment. Hannah also wanted her children exposed to religion. She would roll them way over to Southwest Harbor. That's just like a 7-mile trip. Not because she particularly liked the minister over there, I don't know, but that's where her family was from, so they'd probably be visiting with relatives over there. What else I want to tell you about? It's probably good for now. Oh, the kids. What about the kids? What are the kids going to be doing out here? Yeah, they're going to be helping us. They're going to be, girls going to be helping mom learn some of those skills about like the making the butter. That was a big thing for these coastal islands, and then they co-op it onto sailboats and sail it down to Boston or the other direction to St. John. So making butter, learning those skills. Oh, the boys. Here's an interesting one. The boys, by the time they were 10 years old, had built their own boats and were out here hunting ducks by themselves. Okay? And if I did that as a parent today, I'd probably be in trouble with the law, okay? These guys knew their waters and they knew how to handle themselves. And of all these 12 children that we're talking about, they all survived and they all lived to ripe old ages, 80s and 90s. Wow. If you know anything about the health care of the time, that's pretty impressive actually. Okay. So a lot to do out here to help our family survive, get us through the winter, but do you think they loved their island? Of course, yeah. I've heard many tales of how they loved their island, how they loved visitors to stop by, invited them to go out to the dance floor, which is where we're going to. So, great place to be. All right, I'm going to move us along though, so that again we have our time that we need out at the dance floor ourselves. But I'll tell you this, as we start moving along, we're going to walk past the little schoolhouse. I'm going to walk past, I'll probably say hi, looks like the owner's here, she's awesome. And a great artist. And what else I want to tell you? Oh, 1828. So after the Gilley family has been here about 20 years, they're pretty near self-sufficient. In 1828, something comes to Baker Island that's going to change the life of this family significantly and forever. 1828, what comes out here? Let's go find out. Pirates, you think? No. There's no place to spend their money. In our story, it was 1828. What comes to Baker Island? A lighthouse, right. So as this becomes more of our country's highway, and with obviously the rocky coast of Maine, and as it's getting busier, the government, in fact the early Coast Guard, called the Life Saving Service, starts putting up lighthouses, right? And so they need a lighthouse keeper, okay? William Gilley and his family have already been living here for 20 years. They're nearly totally self-sufficient. They're the perfect family for the job. They're gonna pay him $1 a day. That's pretty good for back then. It makes a lot of money, and with that money he actually purchases the Duck Islands that are a little bit further offshore as a place to raise sheep, a little entrepreneur adventure he had going on. Worked pretty well. Oh, and then they're like, you know what, we'll throw in all the whale oil that your family needs. And they would keep the whale oil separate from the towers for fear of fire, and they would keep it in this little brick building, which we call the whale oil house, okay? And to that little museum, I'm going to talk about that in a moment though. So they've got a great deal, and again, they're the perfect family for the job. So he's got some big boys at this point, but there's also still some little children around with little hands to get in and clean the old Fresnel lenses that would get all smoked up, right? You have to polish the light every day. So let's see, what else is going on at the time? There's people starting to explore a little bit, explore our country, and this hasn't really happened yet. This isn't the people of the cottage era. This isn't even the rusticators. This is like the early rusticators, where some like wealthy professor types are coming to this area and exploring it and being like, this place is pretty cool. And some artists are coming to this area from like the Hudson River School of Art. They're coming to the coastline of Acadia, they're painting this stuff, and they're telling others. So people are starting to hear about this place. And so, and they'd like to come out to Baker Island. So, the Gillies must have been very welcoming here. And then they would, point people out to the dance floor. You're going to see that in just a few moments. So the Gillies got to be friends with some of these early rusticators. Now, and so time goes on, and then there's a change in the political parties. So in 1849, the Whigs take the presidency. All right. William Gilley is not a Whig, okay? And I don't want to get into politics here, but he's a Mainer, and we don't like to be told what to do or how to do it necessarily. And I have seen his written reply. He says, "I would not become a Whig for all the lighthouses in the United States." They will remove him from his post. All right? Now, he's starting to get a little bit older now, and he's heartbroken, right? But he will feel the need to leave Baker Island. And this is Gilley Lane right here. There's like, at the height of Gilley occupation, there's like 60 or 70 people living on this main street. All Gillies are married into the Gilley family. But he's going to leave this island. He's going to go out to the Duck Islands further out all by himself. He asked Hannah to go with him. She's like, you know what? I'll visit you a lot. All right? See ya. She's going to stay here with her kids and her grandkids. So he goes out there. Guys, he lives to be 90 years old out there on the Duck Islands by himself. That's pretty amazing. Hannah stays here. Her health was starting to fail, but she did live to be 69 years old here. But imagine the new Lighthouse Keeper coming to town, someone from away, okay? Oh, and that boat that he thought he tied up real well down there at the shoreline, found floating out in Frenchman Bay. Oh, and the sheep that he brought to help get him through the winter time go disappearing off an island, okay? Oh, and then you know what, the Gillies, they just start charging him a toll, money, to come up their main street. He said, and then he writes a letter. I've seen it. He basically says, "I'm having a lot of trouble with the Gilley boys out here. What can be done about it?" So the government does do something about it. They purchase this island. Oh, yeah. You see, the Gillies never had title to this island. They came here and simply started living. But the Gillies decided that they weren't really going anywhere, right? They'd been living here for some generations now, and they also had, again, some friends in those early rusticators that bought them the best lawyers that New England had to offer. So this thing goes to court. It's a big, romantic, popular case. It takes place down in Portland, Maine. I've seen some of the documentation. I'll spare you the details. It basically said that William Gilley probably wouldn't have been able to find the title to this island anyway. Remember how sometimes this was owned by the French, sort of, but then the English, and then it was a mixed bag. And then it kind of went through Massachusetts, and then sometimes those French deeds were honored, and sometimes they weren't. Well, this was one of those. It was one of the vast Madame de Grégoire holdings, and they're like, you know what? He wouldn't have been able to find title to this at the time anyway. That's silly, and that's not that weird along this part of the coast of Maine. And then squatters' rights. They're like, you know what? You guys have been living here for a long time, so the Gillies will get to keep most of their island, but they will lose the top 13 acres surrounding the lighthouse, okay, to the Coast Guard, and a right of way up the main street. Oh, and perhaps typical government fashion, they will mark that off with concrete posts, okay, about every 20 feet, actually. And you might even see them as you walk out the trail through the woods. They're kind of hidden as we go. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Well, the Gillies will live more or less in harmony with lighthouse keepers through history, more or less, let's say. And the last Gilley, though, will step off here in the 1930s with the invention of the motorboat. Why do people live on these islands to begin with? To be closer to the fishing grounds. with the motorboat, if you think about what's going on back in town in the 1930s, culture is happening. I mean, there's early movie theaters even, right? So these guys are like, you know what? We're out of here. And we can still get out to our fishing grounds and back before dark or when a storm comes in. So there's a mass exodus off all islands in the world, not just along the coast of Maine. Many places people just leave their property. You know, hey, oh Johnny, you're staying out here. Oh yeah, you can have my land. I don't want it. No one wanted it. Weird to think about. Yeah. Gillies were actually fortunate. They would be able to sell their land piecemeal as they would leave here. And there were these people that bought it, that had summer places not too far away. But the people that bought the Gillies land piecemeal as they kind of moved away didn't do anything with it. They didn't develop it. They held on to it because they had a friend over there, that George Dorr in Bar Harbor. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's got this new park called Lafayette National Park that will evolve into Acadia. Did you know that? Yeah, it was Lafayette for 10 years. Anyway, they would hold on to that these properties out here, and they would give it over to George Dorr to become part of our national park system. And I have to tell you guys, out of over the 3,000 islands on the coast of Maine, you and I can't go to most of them. Most of them are privately owned. This is one that is open for the public. And again, we even offer tours out here, but anyone is welcome to come out here to Baker Island and enjoy this. And I really think that we're really so fortunate and lucky to have that. Let's see. So the Gillies lived here consecutively for 123 years. Can you imagine what, again, just being totally self-sufficient out here and loving their island and surviving out here. You're going to see another reason why they love it as we go out to the dance floor. And some of you have asked me, and some of you actually even know this, I'm a Lurvy. So Hannah of our story was my great aunt. So I'm a descendant of one of her brothers Samuel or her father Jacob. So this is a very special place for me to come, and it's a story that I just love to share with others. So I hope that enhanced your trip out here. Quick question, yeah.
Why is this map called Gilley?
This is, it probably would have been renamed. And the person that wrote about this story was Charles Eliot. He was a longtime president of Harvard. I have his book, and I'm going to share it with you. He tells all about the story of Baker Island. He used to summer over on Sutton, right? And well, I'll talk more about that another time on the boat. And they probably would have changed the name of this island, but you can't. It's for navigation. It's on charts. So you don't typically get to change the name of islands. Oh, that's your question. Okay. So Baker, there's 3 Baker Islands in the world that I know of. There's one somewhere in the South Caribbean, the South Indonesia or whatever. And then there's one out of Gloucester Harbor. It looks just like this one. So when you pull out of Gloucester, it looks just like this. That's called Baker Island after a guy that lived on it. And so I'm thinking when those guys came up here from Gloucester and Cape Ann, Baker Island, anyone coming into this area, you'd be like, hey, turn left at the one that looks like Baker Island at home. That's my best guess, but we don't actually know for sure. This was on Baker Island on really old maps. Yeah. Yeah.
How much land is this on, the whole island?
High tide or low tide. It's about a half a mile and it's round. 170 acres-ish. So, but I don't want to take any more of your time because I want you guys to explore. Now, there's some options here. You can feel free to poke around the lighthouse. We just got that tower, so if you're looking at that tower going, wow, that looks pretty run down and beat up, okay, you need to talk to the Coast Guard about that because they actually for years have owned just the tower. We own the house, the park's you and I own the house, and last year the Coast Guard finally gave us that tower, and up to then it had barbed wire around it. We're like, why? And then we finally took down the barbed wire, but that's like $1 million fix-up project right there. Do not lick the tower, please. I have to tell you that. It's a lead-based paint. So we're really interested to see what happens here with Baker as we move forward. The whale house is a little museum. And I was hoping John would say hi, but he looks like he's involved with something. There's a group out here, and right by the schoolhouse, Cornelia, they're part of that. They're the main drivers behind it. It's called the Keepers of Baker Island. They're wonderful people. I love them dearly. And I work with their organization a bit. And she has little pamphlets down there if you want to learn more about her. Tell them about your experience out here with me today or whatever. But they put together this little brick house whale oil museum in there. So there's some really old photos that Cornelia found somewhere. Okay, she has a history of who the Lighthouse Keepers were. So you may want to check that out either on your way out to the dance floor or even on your way back. Okay, so check that out. But what I think we should all try to do as quick as we can is go out to the dance floor. How do you get there? There's a path down around that way, okay? Or if you go to the brick museum here, there's another path through there. And on the other side of this little knoll, there's a white garage, okay? And as you hit that white garage right there, I can see it. There's a path that goes right off to the left, and it's the only path on this island, and that's going to take us out to the dance floor. Take about 10 minutes to hike out there. Time is it? It's 10:50. That's perfect. That's when I was hoping to end. So that allows us to get out there. So we'll be out there by 11. So you get to hang out there for about 25 minutes, and that's just about what you need hanging out on the dance floor. Okay? So I'm around for any questions. But you guys go enjoy.